All right, so today we're going to talk about Michael Chandler and whether or not this man is a cheater when he's inside the octagon. Is he doing whatever he takes? Is he bending the rules? Is he eye gouging Dustin Poirier, doing whatever he can to get the win and just disregarding the rule set completely? And that is the accusation that has been thrown his way by people like Dustin Poirier, Justin Gagey, and if you go online, you will see that narrative all over the place. So much so, he's had to come out and do an interview about it. Now, first of all, I don't see a cheater when I look at Michael Chandler. I see a fighter that gives us exactly why we tune into the UFC. It's fighters like Michael Chandler that made this sport so great in the first place. He goes out there and fights his goddamn heart out. And yeah, sometimes doesn't stick to the plan, doesn't have the smartest fight IQ, doesn't lean on his wrestling. No, because he wants to go out there and knock out his opponents. And he delivers fight of the year contenders time after time. And that is why we're all going to tune in this weekend against Paddy Pimblett, because it's almost guaranteed fireworks. And that's what we love about Michael Chandler. So when it comes to the cheating side of things, you got to remember these rules that they have in place, that's all well and good. If you're sitting on the sidelines, or you're the referee, or you're the judge, or a commentator, or a spectator sitting at home, you can remember the rules. But when you're the one sitting there on your back and you've got a world-class opponent on top of you, dropping elbows into your face, getting you in a tight clinch and just ramming knees into your mouth and smashing your nose to pieces, okay? Sometimes you're not thinking about the rules. Sometimes at that moment in time, you are thinking about survival. And it's fights like that and fighters like Michael Chandler why we tune into this sport in the first place. Saturday night, there was a bit too much wrestling from some of the fighters and there was a lot of people complaining and bitching online. You aren't complaining when Michael Chandler fights, right? You are tuning in because, as I said, it's always must-watch TV. So he did an interview, and this is what he had to say. He said, the cheating narrative, that's a tough one. People don't really know me unless you're in my inner circle. You don't know who I am outside of being in front of the camera. People have their sneaky suspicions that I play nice in front of the camera and I'm a bad guy behind the camera. But you're always going to have those accusations, right? First of all, I haven't heard of anything about Michael Chandler being a bad guy off the camera. I've seen him a few times at the Apex. He's always great. He's always got a smile on his face. He's always got perfect manners, a nice firm handshake. He's adopting children. He's giving TED Talks. When he's not doing that, he's training his goddamn ass off. There was no controversy with him on The Ultimate Fighter with Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor said, you're going to do as you're told, like a good little boy. And that's what he did for 2 years. He waited on the sidelines. He wasn't even talking shit. So I get it when he says that the bad guy narrative is a tough one to swallow. But he says, I am who I know I am. And I know who I am at my core. I'm a guy who tries to do things the right way, tries to treat people right, do things with honor and respect and integrity. So the cheating narrative, that is tough for me. But it's also the court of public opinion. It is the court of public opinion. And people come out with a lot of dumb shit these days, certainly on Twitter and social media. Everyone's got an opinion, okay? There's a lot of bellends out there. There's a lot of dickheads out there. Chandler, ignore them because I love what you do. There is a lot of cheaters out there. I'm going to get into some of those in just a minute. Some people just flaunt the rules all the time. Or again, are they just doing what they're trying to do? To win, to survive, to not get the shit kicked out of them on international TV with potentially the whole world watching. So he goes on to say, he says, did I grab Poirier's mouthpiece? Yes, I did, because I thought it was his chin. I've already addressed that one. Things are going to happen in a fight. Are you going to reach over and grab the cage? Yeah, that's another one. That's a common one, people grabbing the cage. Sometimes it's instinct. Sometimes you're going to get taken down and you grab the cage. Sometimes it's not even a conscious thought. I've done it myself. I admit it. I have grabbed the cage when I was fighting and I didn't go, ooh, I'm going down, I'm going to grab the cage. No, you're in that fight situation and you're trying to beat another human being. And yes, there's rules and all the rest of it, but you want to end up on top. You want to be the one dropping the ground and pound. And when you're going, instinct comes into and you grab the fence and the referee says, oi, dickhead, don't touch the fence. Or these days they're smacking your hands and stuff like that. So that's why the referees are there. Now, about the fight with Charles Oliveira, he said that Charles Oliveira dug his chin so deep into his eye socket, he thought he was going blind, which is illegal. It's an eye gouge, okay? You can bury your head into people's faces and hurt and squash the nose and stuff like that. You can cover their mouth up so they can't breathe. There's a lot of dirty little things that you can do, but it's not necessarily cheating, but it is goddamn miserable. So back to Oliveira, he says that he was grabbing his gloves when he was trying to choke him. These things happen when you're inside of a cage. I would never say that Charles Oliveira is cheating. His body is reacting and doing things things without his brain's permission. Exactly. You're in a fight or flight situation. Things happen, so it's a tough narrative. So when we talk about cheating in mixed martial arts, I mean, come on, where do we start, okay? And again, I don't think people are necessarily cheating. Eye pokes, that's a big one, okay? And straight away, people might point to Song Yudong versus Henry Cejudo, where the main event got stopped and it was a double eye poke, and there was a couple of eye pokes as well. John Jones, people like to talk about the eye pokes there, but he plays this whole game with his fingers. And I'm not sitting here sticking up for John Jones, far from it, but what I'm saying is, I know as a fighter that I would rather land a punch in the face than poke them in the eye. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm giving them too much of the benefit of doubt, okay? But I would rather crack someone in the face and potentially knock them out than scrape their eyeball and then have the whole crowd boo, have a reputation for being a cheater, and potentially lose a point. Maybe I'm just stupid, but that's just me. Groin shots, that's another one, the good old-fashioned groin shot. Now, again, I do think when people are throwing the groin shots, they're meaning to connect with the inside of the thigh, the outside of the thigh, but when two people are moving, sometimes shit happens. And sometimes people do it on purpose, let's be honest, right?
Yes, you scumbag. There is a problem with that.
Here's a good example for it. It's going back a while. Rafael Natal, when he fought Uriah Hall, he came out, boom, kicked him square in the bollocks, okay? That one looked intentional to me. Another one, an old training partner and a great human being of mine, Kopchek Congo, okay? Why did they call him that? Because he likes to knee people in the balls. He has done it quite a few times. I remember when he fought Mirko Cro Cop, UFC 75. I did a whole camp with him, and Mirko kneed him in the balls a couple of times. So what did Czech Congo do? Walked over, grabbed him. You could bloody hear it connect with the cup. It echoed around the arena, kneed him square in the bollocks. Because his train of thought was, what's good for the goose is good for the gander, or good for the gonads, whichever way you want to put it, okay? We've already talked about fence grabs. Sometimes people do it, and if you are a habitual fence grabber, you will have a point deducted. If you're trying to take someone down and the fence grab stops you from taking down, these days you'll either be put down or you pretty much will have a point deducted if the referee does his job.
It prevented the takedown. I'm going to take a point. 1 point, grabbing the cage.
And of course, it's not only when you're in the octagon that people are trying to cheat, okay? Sometimes people are taking steroids, okay? And that's a big one. That's the worst one, okay? That one is absolutely unexcusable. You can't talk about, well, listen, it was the heat of the moment. No, you made a conscious decision to flaunt the rules and break them to the highest order, and shame on anybody that does that, because like I always say, you're not trying to kick a ball into the back of a net, you're trying to kick someone's head clean off their shoulders, and that is disgraceful. Some of the biggest offenders, of course, people like Vitor Belfort, Vanderlei Silva, that ran from a USADA officer one time in Las Vegas.
I can't let you get close.
And there's many other steroid cheats over the years. Shame on all of them.
All you motherfuckers are on steroids.
Of course, my old mate DC, we're going to bring this one up. Towelgate, we can remember this one. And I don't think that was necessarily DC being a cheater. And this kind of goes back to what Tito used to say, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
That's an instinct of myself. They always just say, if you ain't cheating, you're not trying.
When Daniel Cormier walked out to that weigh-in, he wasn't thinking about trying to cheat. He thought that he was on weight, and he obviously miscalculated it a little bit. He stepped on the scale, he's watching it, and they're like, no, you're a little bit over. And then just in his mind, he's like, hold on a minute, if I put my hands on the towel, that's going to support the weight of his arms, and he will become a little bit lighter. And it's not his fault or his opponent's fault that the commissioner in charge didn't notice it. And DC, when he walked out there, wasn't like, right, here's what I'm going to do. I mean, I don't think so. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to walk out, I'm going to step on the scale, I'm going to miss weight, and then I'm going to put my arms on the towel and I'll get away with it. No, I don't think that's what he was thinking at all. The man was trying to make weight, and it turned out he was a little bit over, and he had a very cunning idea. He was very smart. He put his hands on the towel, and he got away with it. So guess what? God bless him. Stuff like that, I'll let that go. I don't have an issue with that whatsoever. That's called being a competitor. And as someone that's been there, cutting weight, and you are almost dead, the most devastating thought ever is to go back into that sauna and lose another half a pound, because all you want to do is have a drink and feel that amazing sensation of a cold drink going down your throat and coming back to life. So anyway, there's just a few ways of that people have cheated over the years. And the original question was, is Michael Chandler a cheater? I don't think he is. I think he's a hell of a fighter, and that's why we tune in. And you know what? I think he's got his hands full this weekend against Paddy Pimblett. It's going to be a sensational fight, and I'm going to give you a full breakdown and a prediction of who I think wins that fight, and everyone on the main card and the undercard as well. So anyway, thanks for watching. Subscribe and ring the bell. See you soon.